Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Robbos Gobcast Sports Show, and it's the NFL show today. But we've made some changes on our Twitter and social media pages. Down below is a link to all of the social media pages we have now. On Twitter, we have separate ones, one for NFL, one for Formula One, one for wrestling, and the sports show, where we're just going to be covering all things football, any other sport that's going on around the world as well. We will be covering that as well at the same time. So this is the specific one, which is down below in the description. Thanks to these guys here that were able to help me out. But today we are going to be talking Miami, BUCS, Falcons, and Pats, plus all of the news that have happened around the NFL and some build up to this weekend as well. But what I want to say is don't forget as well, New Year's coming up. We've just learned today that more people are now in tier 4 and tier 3, and more people are suffering or going through things as well. So don't forget to go and ring the people that you're looking for, or family members or friends or anyone, just to check up on them to see if they're okay. And as I said before, our DMs on all of the social media pages we've got are open. So if you guys ever want to talk to us, ever want to have a conversation, we might be able to point you in the right direction. Or we might be able to just sit there and listen to what you need. Don't forget, or don't ever be shy. We're happy to help you as much as we possibly can. As I got for Christmas, this lovely, it's like I'm rubbing my tits. It feels really wrong. Miami Dolphins top. It's just turned into a rated R or sex show. This has me just rubbing away. That sounded wrong. Going into it. But I'm now wearing this Miami Dolphins eyes. We're on this. So let's get into the podcast. How are we all? Is everyone all right?
Good, yeah.
Yeah, grand man.
Fred, you sound so happy. It's unreal.
Oh, I'm always happy.
Was it because of your
performance on Monday night? Yeah.
Right, let's get into it first. First, I'm going to talk all things. Let's go into it, and let's talk all things Miami to start off with, because I haven't opened it up before. And I haven't had the bollocks before to do it, and I still don't have the bollocks to do it, but I'm going to give it a go. And let's talk about the performance so far. I'm going to talk from a personal point of view, and I'm going to throw in some stats as well. Personally, I think the first half was the play calling for me offensively was terrible. And that was one of the things that I found, which was quite interesting, was the play calling was terrible. Defensively, we looked more open than we have done in weeks, months. We were very open compared to when we played the Pats. We closed majority of things down. And as I said, in the Pats game, it was exactly what happened with the Pats. If we talked about when I was talking to Fred last week, that middle area was always open, which Cam could never get it to, but Carr did. And then I think that was one of the things that I found, which was quite annoying. But Miles Gaskin come back, which was a massive boost. Let's talk about some of what he went through. He carried the ball he carried it 14 times for 87 yards. But the team in total carried it for 25 times for 130 yards, an average of 5.2 yards. Comparing that to the rushing of Las Vegas, where they did it 24 times for 104 yards, which we stopped a little bit more of the rushing, but the receiving is where we really struggled. Defensively, they threw for 21 times for 336 yards, where we threw for 26 times for 276 yards, an average of 10.6 yards with 2 touchdowns, compared to Vegas's 1 receiving touchdown. If we talk all things quarterbacks, I think that's the main talking point. With Tua coming in 17, he threw completed 17 out of his 22 for 94 yards, averaged 4.3 yards with 1 touchdown. He got sacked 3 times for 23 yards. And then he sort of got benched. And to me, I'm in two minds with it. I get it. I understand it. I don't agree with the call, but I get it. I thought the play calling, the play calling for Tua was the play calling that you would give Fitzpatrick. But Tua's not Fitzpatrick. So why are you giving him calls when you know that he's not going to be able to do that? And I just thought they just put him down a rabbit, down a hole, and just like, you're just not going to do it. Fitzpatrick come in with probably one of the greatest no-look passes ever. he had no way of ever been able to get that, but one of the best throws I've ever seen. He come in, completed 9 out of 13 for 182 yards, an average of 14 yards, and got 1 touchdown out of that. But we all can agree with that pass as the greatest. But we've got to give a massive shout to Jason Saunders as well, who for me is probably one of the best kickers in the league by a mile. I still don't get how he didn't get into the Pro Bowl by just how good he was. 4 out of 4, 100% completion, 44 yards was the longest. And he got 14 points himself for doing that. But not only that, he has one of the best 50-plus yard records in the league. And it was undoubtedly one of the best kickers. And I want to go into this conversation. I think it's a very much talking point with who would you start against Buffalo, Fitzpatrick or Tua? But even before anyone could draw breath, Flores come out and said that he's starting Tua no matter what. It's going to be interesting. I've seen mixed emotions from pundits around everywhere saying, yeah, we should have started Fitzpatrick. We need to start Fitzpatrick. No, Tua needs to have a go. Tua is going to be the one that needs to learn from these situations. And I'm in very much team minds. Whoever's in that role come Sunday is going to do the job. But it's up to that play calling. I did think that we were playing like the Atlanta Falcons offensively with Dirk Carr, Rob's favourite person, where he just was not picking the right plays. But that's my personal opinion. And I know Dan wanted to talk about Tua, so I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, so I'm not high on Tua anyway. I think the guy has some flaws to be found out.
Mm.
I think the reputation he came into the league with was very high, and deservedly so. His college career was phenomenal. But I don't want people, and I'm trying to stop people seeing it through that cloud, if that makes sense, and to look at reasoning. So the first thing, and you've picked up on it all along, you just said to us the play calling was terrible.
Yeah.
They were calling Fitz's plays for Tua.
Yeah.
Right? And Tua can't do that, was your exact words. So there's your answer. You start with Fitz. Tua can't do that. Why is he a franchise QB?
It's not the point of that he couldn't do it. It was you've got an experienced quarterback that's there to help Tua. And the only way you're going to help Tua and push him forward is to put him in situations where he's going to learn. The play calling was not there to let him to learn. That was to get him off so Fitz can get on. There was no learning on there. When I was watching it, it was we need to find a way of Flores to learn that in these playoffs we need Fitz. So we're going to find a way of getting Tua off and bring Fitz on, which they succeeded, and then Fitz done it. If you've got, so the way that my brain processes this is you build your team around that one player. So I'm going to go off, and I do apologize if anyone's listening to this that doesn't watch football, soccer, or whatever it is. But for me personally, if you build, let's talk about Aston Villa. They build their team around Jack Grealish, right? And they have everyone that suits him, that plays to him and does everything to his style. So what do? You play to his style. You don't bring in someone that you're going to put the franchise on for a few years. Let's be honest. No matter what happens this season, Tua's going to be at Miami for quite a few years to try and progress, try and see where he's going to go and try to get him to where everyone's hype is for him. But they didn't do that. They decided to play a Sam Allardyce type of football for Tua, and it's like it's just never going to happen.
A coach will never
on the coaching. That's not on him.
A coach won't adjust plays to justify pulling someone. A coach wants to pull someone, they pull someone and put it in. They made the call, and it's the second time this year they've done it to win the game. What you need to understand from me is we are looking at football from a fan's eyes, and rightly so, we are fans. There are also organisations and multi-billionaires that run these organisations that don't care about Tua's career, that don't care about Tua doing it. They've got a chance to go to the playoffs, to win games and make themselves a shed load of money. They couldn't care less if they break his confidence for 2 weeks pulling him out. He's an adult. There's a decision. Get on with it. We're the organisation making the deal. He's in a 4-year contract. He's going nowhere. They can make that call. They can see him. That, for me, is why Tua may well be the future. I hope he is for his sake, and I hope it does work out. But I don't think they're going to put in jeopardy the chance to make the playoffs and the chance to be successful behind. Let's look after Tua's confidence and keep him nice. And even if we lose, it doesn't matter because he's learned a little bit. That's rubbish.
See, from the interviews and what I've seen, and this is personal opinion, and everyone else can tell me what you think in the comments down below or tweet us and tell us what you think. But what the interviews that I can see is they're not doing it to break Tua's confidence. I think they're trying to make him learn. And that's one of the things I get from the interviews I see with Tua. He talks how much he learns under Fitzpatrick and certain situations he's in. With Flores as well, what I see with him is he wants him to develop and he wants to build something around him no matter who else is
They
there.
will want him to learn because they want him to be the face of the franchise.
The only way that I think that they're going to try and do it is putting him in those uncomfortable situations. This is going to be the toughest game, my opinion. This is even tougher than Kansas City that we've got coming up this weekend. By far. Buffalo are... Fred will get into what happened again with his team against Buffalo, but when I've watched Buffalo, they are miles above any other team I have seen so far. And I rate Buffalo a lot higher than the majority of teams that I've seen so far. So this weekend is one of those where I'm praying, severely praying, that Buffalo go, we need to rest players for the playoffs. I'm hoping for it, because if they don't, we won't win and we will not be in the playoffs. But on the point of Tua, I think that Flores is dealing with this right. He's telling Tua, you've got, whatever happens, we're going to try and help you, but you've got to help yourself. And so when last time they pulled him out and put FITZ in, the week after, he had probably one of the best games he's played. And then he learned from that and then did it. So it's one of those where if you take your star player out and go, right, sort yourself out, but we're going to try you again and you've got to do it, maybe they come back and do better.
That's fine. You're playing league football. Next week, you're playing playoff football. Yeah. You can't afford to lose that one. You can't afford to bring FITZ in and it'd be too much for him to overcome. You need to get it right. You get one shot at it. You get one shot at it. You can't say, oh, we're going to swap it around. Hope FITZ wins this one. You'll have a better game next week. There is no next week. It is playoff football. It is win or bust. Therefore, the one quarterback at the minute that the coaches deem can win them a game is FITZ, because they've put him in twice to win games when they haven't been. You get to the playoffs, you have to win the game. You have to start that quarterback.
Yeah, no, I agree on both sides. I'm happy with whoever they put in. Whatever happens, it's on that person, and that person has to deal with. It's like now with Tua. If he fucks up this weekend, it's on him now to take that criticism, learn from that, and come back from it, and then you're going to have everyone that's hyping him up, telling, like myself, saying that he's going to be the next franchise quarterback, he's going to be this and that. He's going to go from that to being public enemy number one. And that's what's going to happen. If he doesn't win this, that's what I think will happen.
It's like, Dan, obviously you've spoken about how they want to make a shed load of money this year and the idea of that. Now, this Miami team aren't going to go very far probably in the playoffs. They're definitely not going to win the Super Bowl. Surely long term, they can see that, if Tua plays these one, maybe two games and they're crunch games, then he's in a better place for next year where we might make even more money and I might be more of a hero as this franchise owner. Why doesn't that come into it? Because team isn't going to win the Super Bowl.
They shouldn't win the Super Bowl. You actually don't know on the day who does perform and win a bowl. But what's to say week one of preseason Tua and come back and break his leg? What's to say he doesn't do what Joe Burrow's done at Bengals this year? Bosh preseason, one hit, he's out and done. You've wasted the playoffs and you've wasted your future QB.
Yeah, but that's one of the
playoffs. You've still got your future QB.
But that's one of the things where you're putting too much on that side. You're putting too much.
I'm playing devil's advocate.
But then I think they're true. And with me, I can see what both sides. I understand what Dan's saying, and I get what Fred's saying.
But again, you're going from a fan's point of view to an owner's point of view. The fan's point of view is,
if the owner,
it'd be good to give him the experience.
If that owner had a problem with this, Tua would not be playing. 100%. Tua would not be playing if the owner really did not want Tua to play and FITZ to play with the contract that FITZ is on. And FITZ gets a massive guarantee as well. I've seen his contract as well.
Totally agree.
On that.
The owner wants to win games. The coach makes a decision who plays. The coach puts the team out to win. The coach then makes the call to change it. The owner isn't going to say you can't play him, you play him. But the responsibility will fall on Flores' head if they don't win.
Yeah.
And therefore, Flores has to make the calls to who to play, not the owner.
No, and then that's one of the things that I think what I've seen, especially this year, is Flores has been excellent. What he's done, the way that he's molded and bringing this team together. At the moment, there's nothing at this precise moment. A completely different conversation next week, by the way. At this precise, there's nothing for me or anyone to say that was bad, that was poor, that hasn't worked. At the moment, it may not be the greatest thing ever, but it's getting us there.
So what if Buffalo turn up, Tua starts, this is do or bust game, and if Tua plays well when you make the playoffs, I think he does start playoff game if he plays well next week and you win, for what it's worth. Player and you're losing, end of the third, you have to bring in FITZ. You don't make it, you miss the playoffs altogether. You're in playoff football effectively now. You have to win or you're out, kind of thing. So you could miss the playoffs by starting Tua now.
You could. It's one of those risks.
15 weeks ball.
It must be one of those risks that everyone has spoken about and thought about and made the ultimate decision that Tua has to play this. I don't think they've sat down and gone, we have to play Tua no matter what, because we've seen that they will just pull him if they don't think he's doing well enough. There must be something that's going on, whether they know that something in Buffalo or they've got something planned or something's going on or people coming back from injury that could help us. I really highly doubt that, but there must be something that in their brains that they go that Tua, compared to what we all can see, can do a better job than FITZ against Buffalo. We don't know what that could be because I'm not intelligent enough to know that or paid well enough to really look into that. But
I think they start Tua because of, as you say, he is the face and they have to put that belief in him. But it could cost them a lot ultimately. They'll try to do the FITZ switch if it looks that way, I guess, and hope. I actually think we'll come on to the scores later, but I think it'll be fine. I don't know. I just think
it's one of those situations that
you have to put a side out to win, and if you believe Tua could win a game, you would not have pulled him twice out of that game.
I think it's one of those that is going to go from one extreme to another. Either this is going to be Tua's greatest game that he's ever played and he's going to send us to the playoffs, or it's going to be Tua's worst game ever and we're going to criticise him, Flores, for even making a decision for that to happen. Hello, Mr. Cat.
Regularly on schedule.
Fifth member of the podcast.
Right on cue, man.
And that's what's going to happen. Right, let's move on from Miami.
Whoa.
Oh, go on, Rob.
I've been sitting here patiently waiting. Listening, taking it all in, and I'm trying to delay moving on to the Falcons.
That's where I was going, by the way.
I want to talk about play calling, something that I've spoken about a little bit with the Falcons. And when you say that the play calling is different for Tua and he's struggling with it, you do see two sort of play calling styles come out, and generally it's when you're putting a backup in that can't cope with the full playbook, and they'll end up playing a vanilla style,
conservative ball,
straightforward, just to try and manage through the game. And so it sort of concerns me that if there's one playbook for Miami, and it's not FITZ's playbook, it's not Tua's playbook, it's Miami's playbook. It will be, change around, players will be taken in, they'll be taken out. And they're going to look at, if Tua's our starting quarterback, what players can we put in there that suit him or the weapons that we've got. But on the whole, it's Miami's playbook. And so if Tua is struggling with the top end of that, so they're giving him the more basic plays, then that should ring alarm bells for me. Because if the Falcons are like a bad example, because our play calling's terrible anyway, but if Matt Ryan went down and Matt Schaub came in, then I would expect our play calling to be, very run heavy, short passing routes, more basic stuff that is still there in the Falcons playbook, but it's at the bottom or basic end of it. And so it sort of concerns me that if TUA are struggling with the normal players, so they're having to be dumbed down, he's on the Miami Dolphins Playbook for Dummies edition, then it doesn't sort of bode very well. I mean, you've seen people like Joe Burrow start for the Bengals and Justin Herbert take over for the Chargers. And they were doing, you know, especially Burrow before his injury, they were doing a great job.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if things are having to be dumbed down for TUA, then that doesn't bode well. I'm not saying that it won't in the future. You know, people all learn at different paces. And I don't think there's any harm for TUA's long-term growth if he sat out the rest of the season. And if I was in charge of the Dolphins, that's exactly what I'd be doing, because, as Dan said, they've had to put FITZ in not once, but twice to try and save games for the Dolphins. And now you're in a situation where if you lose your next game, you might not make the playoffs. If you do make the playoffs, you can't lose because you're eliminated. And you can't play a season playing your rookie to try and develop him for 3 quarters and then throwing your veteran in for the 4th quarter to try and save the game and expect to win, especially when it gets to the playoffs. So at this stage of the season, I would be looking at it and saying, if FITZ is the best bet, then we go with FITZ. And TUA, you know, you stay on the sidelines, you learn what you can, and we'll try again next year.
You spoke about FITZ's play calling as well. Surely that was determined by the state of the game more than anything. And you talk about the differences between how TUA's play calling, or the play calling for TUA's and the play calling for FITZ. But they had to chase the game with FITZ, didn't they? It wasn't, you know, you're not going through a whole 60 minutes and this is the game plan. It's very much, right, we need points on the board. So it's a little bit of a difficult one to compare.
They trusted FITZ with that drive. They trusted FITZ with that 9-minute drives and not TUA. That was
I completely agree with what all of you are saying. For me, I'm happy if FITZ starts. I'm happy if TUA starts. It's just all depending on the game plan that is going into this vital game. Are they going to suit it to TUA? Sorry. Are they going to get the injury players back? Are we going to aim for more consistency with plays that we go? Who knows? We don't know. All we know is we need a fucking win. That's about it. And that's what I'm hoping for.
I think TUA has one big thing. I did go back yesterday and watch a lot of clips of him from the year and from college. The one big thing for me he's got to learn is, in college, a wide receiver is open and they get maybe a yard of space and you can throw to them.
Yeah.
In the NFL, the backs are that much better. A receiver probably only gets a foot of space, but the receivers are that much better that a foot of space is all they actually need. And I don't think he's adjusted his head to seeing a foot of space as an open receiver. So he isn't putting that trigger.
I completely agree with you on that, because I was listening to the commentary during the game when I went back and watched it. And what they said is one thing that FITZ is trying to teach TUA is you may not think a player is open, but he's open. And it's all about the footwork of that player to aim for it. And it's all about your aim. And that's one of the things that I think they're working closely on to get that done. Right, enough about Miami and TUA. Let's go on to...
We'll come back to him on the draft bit, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're going back to him on the draft. We'll go back to him a bit later on. But let's go to the Falcons. Let's go and talk all about them. They had a very close game and put up a great fight against Kansas City. Rob, tell us all. That was a big example. I don't know what that was.
Could be Rob, well done.
Fucking hear this bit. I think the Falcons are just trying to find new ways to wind me up. And it's working. It's working. You know, I went into this weekend's game. I was sat at work on Sunday and I thought, I'm going to go home, watch the game. We're going to get battered. I expected it. And I thought, you know what? It's not going to be close. That's fine. It's not fine, but, you know, I expect it. I've got zero expectations. I'm not going to enjoy watching it, but I'm going to watch it anyway because it's the Falcons. And what happened? We were in it until the very last kick of the game when we missed a field goal. And, you know, a game-time field goal, we could have taken it to overtime. Not only that, before our last drive, Terrell has, you know, dropped what could have been, would have been, a game-winning interception in the end zone. And it's just like, I had no expectation that we would go out and win that game, or it would be that close, and I accepted that. But then when we do take it that close, and then find a new way to just throw it all away, I think that's what's more frustrating. When I look at the games that we've lost this year, and the Cowboys, and the manner that we lost that, and the Bears, and the Lions, and I've spoken here about the Saints games and how they were both, there for the taking. The BUCS game, we could have won that. And then you go out against the best team in the league when you don't expect to win, and you keep it so close until the very last kick of the game. And it's just, I don't know. I don't even have words to describe it. They're just, I don't know. I'm going to be honest, like the Chiefs, they weren't great. They weren't at the best. I think if they were at their best, it'd have probably gone how I'd expected. But at the end of the day, you can only play who's in front of you on the day. And if the Chiefs are going to come out and not be at their best, then we should be making them pay for that. We did some stuff well. Again, the Chiefs didn't have a good game, but this is the first game all season that they've scored less than 20 points. So defensively, I think we did well. And if you can keep a team to 17 points, then you've got a chance to win. If your offense can keep up their, part of the bargain, which we can't. Who would I blame for the loss? Dirk. Yeah. I've spoke about running practically every week on here for the Falcons, how ineffective we are. We're 31st in yards per carry, we're 29th in total rushing yards. For the majority of the time, as I've said every week, it's just straight up the gut for a 1-2 yard gain, usually early down situations. Second down, I don't know. We just seem to play. We seem to have gone now where we do first down, we're going to run it, and we're going to get 1 or 2 yards because that's all we're capable of. On 2nd and 8, we're going to do something really conservative because we don't want to lose yards and we don't want to throw an interception. So we try conservative. And then we get to 3rd down, and it's like, shit, what do we do now? Let's try the most ridiculous, deep ball that we can and just sort of, throw it away. I'm probably being a bit exaggerating a little bit here, but,
So let's go on. And I want to ask Fred this question because it was the first time you watched, I think, properly a Falcons game. And I think I remember you saying you can understand how Rob hasn't gone completely insane yet. He's nearly there. We could all admit that, but he's not. But he's not just there yet. But what did you make of the game?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the most stressful experiences of my life, and I'm not even a Falcons fan. It's odd because I agree with Rob. I think actually they did a lot to a really high level, and then they did some really abysmal stuff. I think that's the really frustrating thing if you're a Falcons fan watching that game. Even Koo's kicking, and Koo's had a really, really good year, and I think everyone would agree he's had a really good year. His pat attempt was really strange. I don't think it got batted down, did it? I don't think there were any deflections or anything like that, but it went for a really funny angle just before he missed the field goal. And I don't know if maybe being named on the Pro Bowl team went to his head or something. I thought Ryan was really good, and you spoke about, I think you're right in the way the play calling was, but the 3rd down and long, he seemed to land a lot of those. He only watched the second half, didn't watch the first half, but he landed a lot of those, and it looked very good. Although it didn't look good the first 2 downs, he had the answer for everything, it seemed. But every time you got in a really good position, like you say, you dropped the INT in the end zone. I think at one point you got the ball back and then gave it straight back to the Chiefs late in the fourth quarter, probably 4 or 5 minutes.
It was Aluakon intercepted it in the end zone, and it had a decent return. And then on the next, I think we might have got some positive yardage. But then in 3 consecutive plays, we lost yardage, which, that drive then came to absolutely nothing. So we've got a good interception in the end zone. I think the return might have been 40, 45 yards. We got a bit further up the field, and then 3 consecutive plays, we've lost yardage and given the ball back to them.
But defensively, I thought you were really good by and large. And I know Mahomes wasn't brilliant. I don't think the Chiefs were brilliant, but they're still Mahomes and the Chiefs, isn't it? They go through games and parts of games where they're not good, then all of a sudden kick on. But that didn't happen against you guys for whatever reason. I think part of that has got to be a bit of credit to yourselves. Like you said, first team to keep them under 20 points, but I can understand how you go mental at that. So it was just like the Jekyll and Hyde thing I've watched this season.
Yeah, I think, like you've said, I think keeping the Chiefs to 17 points is a massive accomplishment, and 0 of the blame can be put at the defense this week. And like I've said, in my mind, if you can keep a team to 17 points, you've given yourself more than enough chance to win that game, because every team in this league, even the Jets, is capable of putting up 17, 18 points. So if you can keep a team, especially the Chiefs, to that, you're giving yourself the opportunity. I mean, I've got another play down here which sort of infuriated me as well, which was an end around on 2nd and 6. It just executed really badly, and we lose 7 yards on an end around. I don't even know how that's possible. I can't even I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, Ridley's running across. It's a quick snap to Ryan, who's handing it him straight away, and we've lost 7 yards, and a 2nd and 6 turns into a 3rd and 13, and that's another drive done. But yeah, I'm just, at least we'll be the BUCS next week and finish the season.
Right, they're talking of BUCS. Let's get into them. You had a good game, shall we say?
Chilled out game, my friend.
Yeah, a very chilled out game. What did you make of that game against the Lions?
It was the BUCS that we know they can be. It's a incredibly poor Lions, especially in the secondary, which played to Tampa's strength in terms of we were going to throw the ball all day long, especially with our main running back out. And we've got the best person, questionably ever, throwing the ball. So it was just always going to be a recipe for disaster for the Lions, wasn't it? Let's face it. I mean, Brady had, I think it was 238 yards and 4 touchdowns off 22 completions. If he'd have had that in 4 quarters, you'd probably be pretty happy, and he did that in 2. Blaine Gabbert came in at halftime. He was 943 yards and 2 touchdowns. This guy hasn't seen the field in 2 years. He's the first snap he played, he was 1 for 1 with a 45-yard touchdown. It was a long ball, never covered Gronk, straight in. Thank you very much, we're done. And this is a backup QB. Gronk then got rested, Godwin got rested, Brown got rested. Mike Evans kept playing. Mike Evans is on for an incredible record of his first 7 straight seasons all over 1,000 yards. He was 224 away, I think, going into this game, having the Lions and the Falcons to play. And rightly so. Once the game was won, they just kept snapping the ball and throwing it to Evans, and snap the ball and throw it to Evans, and throw it to Evans in the flat and let him pick up some every time. He ended with 181 yards off 10 catches. He's now 40 yards away from that fantastic record. And I know the Falcons will probably double team him just for a bit of divisional spite the whole game. And if they can stop him getting it, then they will try, I'm sure. But I also know Tampa are going to be doing all they can to try and look after him and make sure he gets that record, because he deserves it, to be fair. He's cut his contract twice to make it team-friendly deals to open up cap. He opened up the cap this year for Antonio Brown to come in, which just shows you how selfless he actually is. yeah, the game, there's not a lot to say about it. The defence stayed in. They were stat looking for, they were going for fumbles and turnovers. What I was pleased to see was the offensive line stayed in. The big guys that could probably do with a rest. Brian Jensen, Tristan Wirfs, they stayed in. We know as a team, the core and the key to our success is to keep Brady standing up in the pocket. He's not going to get out of the pocket. And the longer we can give him in the pocket, the better chance we've got. So it's quite nice to see those interior guys play the game, work on that rapport, build a little bit more, and just try and harmonise a bit. So, yeah, comfortable win. On to the Falcons.
Perfect. Right. That's nice, quick and easy. I quite like that. Fred, I'm going to go to you. That's what she said. Fred, I'm going to go to you. What did you see of the game against the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, I spent Monday morning watching it. Just awful again, really. I thought we were going to get beat. I didn't doubt that. I think very similar to Rob. We were playing a very good side. We're not a very good side. Didn't expect to be in it. But unlike the Falcons, we were just never in it. For me, from the end of quarter 2 against Miami to the end of that Bills game, that's been the most abject 6 quarters of football I've ever seen the Patriots play for me. Within that as well, just outside of that, that's how horrific this next stat is. We went 9 straight quarters without a touchdown until Cam scored a rushing touchdown on Monday. It's almost as if something snapped, really. I don't think anyone rates the Pats offensively with throwing the ball. I think we're okay. Got an okay running game. But it's almost as if they've realised they're no good at running and catching. Throwing and catching. There are times in the season, I think, where we almost kid ourselves a little bit. And when that kidology was in full swing, we did okay at times. But it's just more and more obvious the majority of our play calling is going to be running because that's all we can do reasonably well, regardless of the situation. I mean, I know Rob saw Demir Bird drop a catch, which would have been just a walk-in touchdown. He dropped other catches, which were less important, but that was straight through the red basket. I don't know, I'd fancy my chances of that myself. Myers dropped catches. He's done okay this year, as I said before. He was our top receiver and he received 45 yards. You know what I mean? It sort of just tells you what a sorry state it is. This couple, keeping on the receiving theme for a moment, this coupled with reports that Julian Edelman, who's missed most of the season due to knee, due to COVID, probably isn't going to be a Patriot next year. It's just quite depressing. You have all this, you don't really have a working quarterback. I mean, with Cam's throwing, I don't know if he's still young enough, so he shouldn't have lost ability. But at the same time, is his shoulder still causing issues? He has poor protection, poor receivers that can't really catch. It's a horrible mix. Stidham came on a lot earlier than what he's come on previously this week. He came on in the third quarter. He didn't really do much different, threw 4 for 11 and 44 yards. So he threw a few more yards than Cam, but 44 over one half of the game and 35 over the other isn't great. As a happy little side note as well, because that's the most opportunity we've had to see him. He's not the most mobile of quarterbacks as Stidham. It was like watching him run through treacle when the Bills were after him. Interestingly, this week, this was the first time Bill didn't come out and back Cam straight away. However, in the week, he has sort of unmuddied these waters a little bit, and he's told Ryan Hannaby that they've seen probably what they need to see about Stidham. So we're probably looking at a Cam-filled season. But another one, Pat's had 6 punt plays in a row at one point. It's a dead offense. I keep talking about it, but I keep finding new ways to not bring it to life, I guess, really. I do have lots of positives, all about the Bills, but lots of positives. I spoke about them last week. I really like them. Again, I was impressed with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Been impressed all season. Diggs especially, he made a mess of our secondary. There's plenty of room at all times. 9 receptions, 145 yards, 16.1 yard average reception, 3 touchdowns. Don't know what more you can ask for from him, really. Allen, again, excellent. 27 from 36, 320 yards thrown, 4 touchdowns. I think we're used to seeing a golfing class in this fixture, but never this way round. There are plenty of other good options as well offensively, the Bills. Moss and Singletary did really well. Dawson Knox, Gabriel Smith, Lee Smith all averaged over 10 yards per reception. There just seems to be plenty of options, and it just makes me really jealous, if I'm honest, because we have no options. But, the thing as well, the Pats aren't bad defensively, which is, again, they are bad offensively, but they're not bad defensively. So it was, it's another good performance from them. It's not just a case of them knocking a bad side out the park. Matt Milano is really good at linebacker again, forced a sack out of Cam as well defensively. It's a very exciting Bills side. I think they're good probably on both sides of the ball. It's taken them time to get to this. It's a side they've built. It's not just an all of a sudden thing this year, although Allen's form is all of a sudden. The rest of it's been building over the last couple of years, but they're ranked second in the AFC for a reason, deservedly so. Moving quickly on to next week, because I know you want to talk about the Jets anyway, and hopefully it's a nice little link in for you, Mark, but at the moment I have the Jets down to beat the Pats. I don't think the Jets are the complete bust they appeared to be. I've talked about Donald's injuries and injuries to wide receivers earlier in the year, but right now they're in better shape offensively than the Pats, and I think the Pats probably get beat this week. So
that has been absolutely lovely put and moved on nicely to the Jets. It has been confirmed by the Jets win that they will be going for the second round. But I want to do a special mention for the Jets. I'm going to butcher his name, and you guys are going to have to help me on this. Is it Frank Gore? Gore? The running back.
Frank Gore.
Thank you.
Yeah, Frank Gore,
he has become the third player ever in NFL history to have rushed for 16,000 yards. Don't name me the other two because I haven't got it down. But he has now become the third player ever.
Daniel Tomlinson.
Go on then. You all know this. Go on, give it a go.
Can't think of the other one. Jerry Rice, maybe?
I'm gonna when I go into the next link, I'm gonna go and Google it to see if you're right. I'm not gonna lie. So I want to say that. So this is an open and end question for everyone on here. With the Jets now with second, giving it to the Jags, who lost to the Bears 41-17 on there. How much does that benefit the Jags, and how much does that hinder the Jets?
Well, I think if the Jets had have ended up with the number 1 overall pick and picked Lawrence, they were still going to struggle. I think the Jags getting this are in a much, much better situation. And it's one that I'm excited to see what they do with it this year, because they could go from being the worst team in the league to being competitive, I believe, in this offseason. And they've done what Miami did last season. They've traded everyone away, and they've ended up they've got all of their picks this year. They've also got an extra first round, second round, fourth round, and fifth round pick. So they've got a really good set of draft picks, 2 in the first round, 2 in the second round, 2 in the fourth round, 2 in the fifth round. They could go out and get some real talent through the draft. Not only that, they've got $100 million in cap space for this season. Now, with the reduction that we're looking at last year, Dan's just sent some stuff across. I'd looked at overthecap.com earlier, and I'd got them as having 75 million in cap space. I think what Dan just said 77 million. So 75, $77 million in cap space next season.
And there's a lot of free agent skill players available this summer.
They could go out and literally, if they're aggressive in free agency, then, and if they draft right, then they could be a completely different team.
Aaron Jones, Chris Kamara. Alvin Kamara. Chris Godwin was where Chris Godwin was where I was going. Chris Godwin and Allen Robinson, both free agents. They can go and get a star at each position to back up DJ Shark and James Robinson, which they've got already.
Yeah, they could literally. Phenomenal. And I think when you add to that, there's parts of their roster to like anyway. I think, I don't know, you look at the Jets, and maybe I'm just being cynical, but it's hard to find bits of their roster that probably anyone would like. But you look at the Jags, they found Robinson this year at running back. Was that expected? No. As an undrafted free agent, but, he's like the third best running back in stats in the league this year. So, they found a gem there. They've got good wide receivers. They've got Allen and Chase on as their edge rushers. That, you know, they've got plenty of potential. There's almost like an unlimited ceiling there. They've got good linebackers. They've got CJ Henderson at cornerback, who was a first-round pick last year. The defense probably does need more work than their offense, but I think they've got good fundamentals in place. I'm not going to pretend that I've got a huge knowledge of where they're in the biggest need this season. Although quarterback obviously is the glaring one. It's obviously not worked out for Minshew, and, you know, picking number 1 overall, they're going to take Lawrence. So that's you know, the first need sorted, they hope. You know, maybe offensive line is one area that they'll be looking at. I think tight end is somewhere where the weak. Running back, you know, like Dan said, for some depth there, alongside Robinson. Defensively, you know, I've spoke about their edge rushers where they've got potential, but, you know, extra help on both sides of the trenches is always good. I think they're good at linebacker, but, you know, maybe corner or some help at safety. But I think with the draft picks that they've got and the cap space that they've got, they could make a real splash if they do it wisely this year.
Yeah.
So who was the 2 people that you said that the 2 legends that have rushed for 16,000?
Emmitt Smith and Walter Payton.
You've got it right in front of you, haven't you? Because I've got it right. All right, fair enough. Dude will be there. All right. Now, at least, Dan, do you want to go any more about the cap space? I know that you wanted to have a quick conversation about that. You've seen the list of how much cap room or how much there is in cap room in some teams. So I'm going to leave this over to you.
I think it's something we could go into for a long time. So we'll zip over it. But I think looking at next year, the highlights come out that the Jags are in, as Rob said, in a fantastic position. The Saints are due to be 95 million over cap space, which is just absurd. Yes, they may ring a Super Bowl ring. They've got something to show for it, I guess. The 2 that alarmed me looking at the figures, though, were the Eagles 71 million over and the Falcons at 24 million over. None of them are going to have a lot to show for that money. Now, the Eagles is probably Carson Wentz and it's sat there, and if they can restructure that and get rid of him, that'll probably only bring them in line. It's handy they've got Hurts to cover it, and they don't need to find a replacement. But the Falcons, with Rob's obviously been saying, where do they go with that? They've got to draft young and get rid of experience in order to get that cap down. Whether that be a QB, whether it be I don't know, Julio. I don't know, but it's a tough position to be sat in right now. And these guys, there's a lot of people paid a lot of money to work out how to get round and under and duck cap space. That's why the Saints are £95 million over it and not in trouble, right? Because there's lawyers and mathematicians sat there working that out for them. So they'll find a way, I'm sure. But on paper, looking at it, it's scary. So
yeah,
wouldn't like to be you, Rob.
Definitely not. But we're going to talk about your draft that you could go for coming up in a few moments. There's a couple of things that I would like to go through before then. And before we're going to brush over just quickly because we've gone through quite a lot. So I want to get through a few more things, but we're going to brush over JJ Watt's rant after the game. Dan alerted this to me when he put it in the group chat that we were in to go and watch it. Was he right in what he was saying? Is it the right time for him to do it? And what do you think they're going to do to try and help? For me, with JJ Watt, when I watched the Hard Knocks episode of JJ Watt, it just goes to show that people need to be more like him. He was there first in through the door early. He was the last one to leave. And he did that every single preseason training camp, anything that was going on. So for me, if you're going to play with an organization under JJ Watt, you need to be more like what he is. Is he right in what he's saying? Is he at fault in some of the things that have gone on? Should he be coming out and saying these type of things? What do you guys think? This is a free-for-all for anyone that wants to go. But this is something that I found quite interesting when I was looking around and seeing what people were thinking about it.
he's very brave to say it. He's very brave to slag off all your teammates in the entire organisation. Look, I don't follow Houston too closely, but when JJ Watt was against us, he batted down 4 passes. He was excellent. He's been around the league long enough to know what looks good and what looks bad. And he's not gaining any personal capital really out of this, is he, by pissing off the people he works with day in, day out. I think he's got the Texans' best intentions at heart. Whether it's right or wrong, very difficult to say. But for me, it shows passion. It shows he cares. I think as a fan, you don't mind it, if I'm honest. I think he's probably done the right thing.
Dan, Rob, would you agree with Fred?
Yeah, I think, like Fred said, he's not going to be the most popular person in the dressing room this week.
But how bad must it be in the dressing room to get to that stage?
Yeah, but I absolutely, I love the passion, and it's exactly like what you want to see. I can remember when I was a kid, and by no stretch of the imagination have I ever been a professional athlete, other than if beer drinking became an Olympic sport. But I can remember when I was a kid, and I used to play football with my friends and Sunday league football, and played other sports. And when I was really young, my dad said to me, "Doesn't matter what environment you're playing in, you play to win." And that is something that I have taken from that moment through my entire life with. And I've fallen out with ex-girlfriends if they've somehow beaten me at pool or bowling, because if I don't win, I don't care what. If I do not win, I'm not happy. Mm-hmm. And then when I've played amateur sports at Sunday League and ice hockey and things like that, the players that go the furthest are the best technically, but they're also, you find they're also the ones that they want to win as well. Mm-hmm. They're not just technically best on the field, going for a breeze. They've got that hunger that they want to win as well. And that's what will make a professional athlete. And I want to know, because watching a multitude of sports and professional athletes, where that hunger and desire goes to, especially, probably because you're getting paid millions of dollars or pounds. And JJ Watt is exactly right. They are playing sport for a living. They are doing what everybody in the world would love to do given a chance. And they're getting paid huge amounts of money for it. With their big houses and the fancy cars and living the lifestyle. And then they can't go out on a pitch for 60 minutes and bust their arse to give it everything they've got. And, I don't know whether, obviously JJ Watt does feel that there's people there not pulling the weight on a Sunday afternoon. And I've not seen enough of the Texans to, this year to know how valid it is, but obviously he thinks it is valid. And I just think that, you play to win, and even more so when you're doing it professionally and getting paid the money that comes with it. And I do not think there's an excuse for a professional athlete to not pull their weight. I think it's disgusting, really, and I'm 100% behind JJ Watt.
And the Jets have shown that, right? We talked about tanking earlier in the year, and we said that coaches and players will not tank. That it's not, you can't, you're a professional athlete. And they've gone out and won and actually probably screwed the organisation for the short term, if not the long term, as a result. But that's a winning mentality of a professional athlete. JJ Watt has brought that into question, basically with his own teammates that aren't trying. Yet it would have been in the interest of some of that Jets team to not try and not win, because some of them, maybe not all of them, but some of them will be there for the next 2, 3, 4 years, and they would have benefited from the organisation getting better. But that didn't stop them going out and winning that game. The Texans are not winning football games. They're not going anywhere. They've got no draft picks. They're screwed on cap space. JJ Watt isn't getting any younger. They've got no head coach. Okay, it may be hard to get motivated, but personal pride's got to take a front step there and take the lead, right?
Yeah, completely agree. Moving on to personal, as you said, state. Let's talk about the NFC East. Some fun stats that I saw today. The 4 teams in the NFC East have combined to play 60 games They've taken more than 3,800 snaps on offense and defense, and they score just over 1,200 points, while they're surrendering more than 1,500 points. Washington can clinch the division and its automatic playoff berth with a win over Philadelphia in Week 17. Should it fail, the winners between the Cowboys and the Giants will claim that division. So, one easy question for everyone that I'm going to ask, nice and easy. Who's going to win that division?
Does this segue into our predictions? Does it then, seeing as both games are on there, or?
Yeah. No,
because mine's going to give it away straight away.
Yeah. So who do you? We'll go to predictions later because we've got drafts and stuff that we're going to go on to. That is in our predictions of later on. We just want to see, and I forgot about that. Anyway, carry on.
Okay, so winner of the NFC East for me is the Dallas Cowboys.
Washington for me.
That. I'm thinking that. You go for Washington.
Yeah.
Fred.
I also agree with Dan just about. It's such a free-for-all.
Not convincing.
That's right. No problem. Every time...
It's just I'm bigger than him. That's all.
Oh, it's tier 4. You can't get to me. No, every time a team looks like it might be building something in this league, and you think, actually, they're half decent, and we've misread the situation, they go and lose a couple. It's just... so yeah, I'll go Dallas, but...
But that doesn't go with the fact of maybe you might think, but we'll go with it anyway. MVP, I put a tweet out the other day, which thank you, Nick Knowles, for retweeting it. That was mind-blowing, by the way, so thank you ever so much. I put out a tweet saying, who is going to be MVP? There are loads of sources saying the top 4 are Mahomes, Rodgers, Allen, and Wilson. One quick question and one quick answer. Who is going to be MVP? Dan?
Aaron Rodgers. It was
Rob.
tight with Mahomes till this weekend.
Aaron Rodgers.
Fred?
I go Rodgers.
I'm going Rodgers. So that's easy. Right.
What does Nick Knowles know, eh? Didn't he say Mahomes?
Right, predicted drafts. Here we go. We're going to talk a little bit about the 2021 draft coming up as we sort of set on what's going on. From what the research I've seen now that Jacksonville have got the number 1 pick, they look like they're going to go for Trevor Lawrence, the QB. New York Jets are apparently going to go for Justin Fields, according to some sources. I'm saying some sources, they might or might not. I'm just saying what I think here. Cincinnati are going to go with Caleb Farley. Atlanta, according to some sources, are going with Gregory. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that name. Rossio,
yeah.
Carolina Panthers apparently going to go for Penny Swell.
Where have you got your figures from? Because that's not the current order.
Well, these are from what I saw about 5 days ago when I was doing it. And Miami, we're going for a wide receiver, and then later on the draft, go for a running back. Dan, I'm going to go to you first. Where do you see some of the teams going for in the draft, and who do you think they might be going for?
So for me, the Jags take Trevor Lawrence. You would be stupid to get that position and that opportunity and not take it. Simple done. I think had the Jets been number 1, they would have got Lawrence. They've now got a choice of do they go quarterback? You said Fields. I actually think Zach Wilson will probably go before Fields. But I think they're going to ride with Darnold now that they've missed Trevor Lawrence. So for me, their best bet is to get him some protection and then take Penny Sewell at 2. The Finns at 3. If Sewell's there, it makes sense for them to take him. I don't think he will be. Therefore, I think the Finns will trade back to somebody that will get either Fields or Wilson. There's QB hungry teams out there, isn't that right, Fred?
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Somebody needs a QB somewhere.
Yeah, it must be.
Falcons at 4 have holes to fill, but I don't think their needs, edge rushers, running backs, are pick 4 worthy. So I think they'll trade back to a later first as well and add something else later in to pick up their edge rusher further back And again, there is Wilson and Fields there, so somebody will come in and pick those two up. And the Bengals, we know their problem forever has been protecting a quarterback. So I think they'll take Rashawn Slater, even though he opted out this year. He was up there with Penny Sewell beforehand, and I think the Bengals will gamble on him. So that's my kind of top 5. Yeah.
Rob?
Yeah, I mean, we've got obviously the Jags taking Lawrence pretty nailed on. I've sort of got on there that, there's all this hype about Lawrence, and, you hope that if you draft somebody first overall, then they're going to change your franchise for you. And, I know Lawrence is dubbed as a generational talent, but, you only have to look back to know that it's not set in stone. You look at Darnold, drafted early, jury's still out on him. Josh Rosen from 2018, draft 10th overall, was it? He's not performed. There's even question marks over Baker Mayfield. 2017, Trubisky went to the Bears at the number 2 pick, and Mahomes went to the Chiefs at the number 10 pick. And you've got to be thinking that the Bears are kicking themselves right now.
Lamar Jackson went 32 in that draft as well.
Yeah, so it's nothing is set in stone when you draft. You just hope that that things pan out. What did the Jets do? I'm sort of agree with Dan. Do they stick with Darnold? I'm not sure. But I do prefer Wilson as a QB over Fields. I know that some mock drafts have got the Falcons taking Fields from sit behind Ryan for a year or two. And I just don't think that, I would not be happy if we drafted him at all. If he gets the Falcons, I'd like us to, I would like us to draft back, move back, sorry. We've got some stuff on here. I mean, if we don't, if Sewell was there, I'd like to take him. We've got McGarry and Jake Matthews at offensive tackle, so it's not really an area of massive need, but I think it would improve us. And Parsons as well at linebacker. They'd probably be my 2 picks if we were to pick around there. I wouldn't like us to take Rasu. I think, he's opted out this year. I don't think he's, I've seen a bit of tape on him. I don't watch a lot of college football, if any, really. So, I can't profess to be an expert on it. But, from a bit of tape I've seen, I don't think opting out will have helped him this year. And I'm sure he probably will go around the top 10. But I don't think he's going to solve the Falcons' edge rushing needs. So I'd like us to trade back, move back, and see what we can get. Who could we trade with? I don't know. Panthers at 9, Broncos at 10. Fred, how do you feel trading up from 14 to 4?
Yeah, I think we've won it, but it's difficult because a lot of our issue, if you're talking Patriots, everyone's assuming, oh, well, they're going to go after a quarterback in the draft. I don't see it like that. I think they're going to go after receivers. I think they're going to look for a free agency quarterback. So how much difference would trading up to 4 make for us? Obviously, you're going to get first pick a receiver, probably, aren't you? But I don't know. It's probably not as important as what you'd imagine it would be.
Well, that's rubbish, Fred, isn't it?
I agree. I don't think the Patriots are desperate to trade up. I think they'd have their eyes on a wide receiver. But I think if it gets to them and someone like Kyle Trask is still there, they'll pick someone like Trask up as a decent QB, mid to late round 1, personally.
Fred, what do you think? Have you got any? Do you agree with these? What have you thought? What have you seen? What have you?
Yeah, by and large, I do agree. It's just funny because it's changed actually a lot. We probably started talking about this a little bit in our own chat about 10 days ago, didn't we, really? And it looked like, obviously, Lance has always been number 1 pick for as long as long as this conversation seems to have gone on for and before. But it always looked like Fields was going to be number 2 until the last few days, where he seems to have dropped down everyone's lists quite considerably. I think a lot of what I'm seeing about the Jets, I think looks like they probably would take Penny Seal. That said, I think that would probably ruin Darnold's career, because I think he's okay. I just think he needs to get out of there. So for him, I'd hope they take a quarterback. But from a Jets perspective, I think he's okay. I think he's got enough talent, and they'll take some protection for him. Dolphins, I've seen taking Micah Parsons at linebacker. Rob, obviously, I mean, you sort of touched on this a little bit, but 3 different places I've seen that saying you're going to take Zach Wilson to sit behind Ryan for a couple of years. Is that something you think will happen, or?
I would not like to think that. Well, there's 2 sides to it. I would hope that we will not be picking in the top 5 for a long time again. But, everybody's going to say that if we picked at number 4 this year and 31 next year, then, I'd be pretty, 32, sorry, then I'd be pretty happy with that. But it's not going to happen, is it? I think I would rather we make a pick for somebody that's going to change our team or help change our team from next year. And I don't think drafting a quarterback to sit behind Ryan, especially with the contract that he's got for the next year or even 2 years, is the way that I would like us to go with the draft.
This whole drafting QBs to sit behind QBs was always the way, right? When I started watching ball and growing up, it doesn't appear to be anymore. Look at the guys that have gone straight in, Burrow and Herbert, and there's all this clamor for Miami who have TUA, who have Fitzpatrick, who is a perfectly capable NFL QB. But the clamor to get TUA in there, for me, he should have sat the whole year. He should have just sat on the bench and not move. He's on a 4-year contract. They're paying him pennies in perspective. He should have just sat there and watched the whole thing. All of this, will he, won't he, pressure on, pressure off, we might not, is all brought about by themselves. Just sit down, watch and learn, and none of this would have arisen.
I think there's 2 different sides to it. You look at like the Bengals, they had no choice but to go with Burrow. And
Green Bay picked up Love, and everybody started questioning Aaron Rodgers' job. We've all 4 of us have just gone, MVP Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But people are clamoring and questioning and all that lot because they picked a QB. So if the Falcons pick a QB, I think it's a real waste, especially sat at number 4. I don't mind a late round flyer, see if you can find a talent somewhere down the line, and that makes sense. But I don't think they need to pick up 4, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think the Bengals had no choice. The Jags need a quarterback, and obviously at number 1 with Lawrence being there, they're probably not in the same state that the Bengals were in last year, but they're not far from it. I think like the Chargers, they went with keeping Herbert on the sidelines, and I think the fact that Herbert had to come in due to injury and played well, I don't know whether that's then impacted on the thought process of the Miami coaches who have thought, hang on a minute, we've got these 2 other top 10 rookie quarterbacks that are going in there and doing a good job. Because for me, there was literally no need whatsoever to pull Fitzpatrick out of that starting role with the way that he was playing. And I know we've touched on that before. If he was playing terrible, yeah, fine, go for it. But he was playing well, and it started him by they'd won a game. It was won, and they put TUA in there to take a few snaps at the end of the game. Suddenly, he's the starter. And, what's happened since? They've pulled him twice because they're losing, and Fitzpatrick's had to go in and save them. So, yeah.
The architect of their own problems.
yeah, exactly. But from, I think, where we are at quarterback now, I've still got a lot of belief and hope in, not hope, but, belief in Matt Ryan. Obviously, he is towards the end of his career, but, he's still there for the next 3 seasons. based on his contract, unless, you know, anything happens in the next year or two. And I think when you're in that situation, picking at number 4, it'd be a waste for us. Like Dan said, if we were picking number 30 and there was a quarterback like what Green Bay did last year, it's a different story. But when you've got somebody who could be a game changer for you potentially in the next year or so, you know, just if Chase Young was in this draft this year with the Falcons needing an edge rusher, and there was the potential that he'd still be there at number 4, I would be absolutely over the moon. I know he went number 2 last year, but you know, he is the sort of player that would change the Falcons' defensive line overnight. I'm struggling to look at the minute at number 4 and see that sort of game changer this year. But
there's no value there for you, is there? That's what I can't find. Your needs don't fit the value at 4.
Yeah, but I don't see drafting a future QB there as being the way forward for us either. So that's why I think, you know, we need to look to trade back, or that's what I'd be doing anyway.
So I just wanted to quickly highlight Miami quickly just before we move on and see who I think, by the research of where people are talking about, we could be going. It's looking like, if there's no opportunity, Jamar Chase, who was a sophomore in 2019. In 2019, he had 84 receives for 1,784 yards, 20 touchdowns in that season. He's also linked to go with the Bengals, as he was with LSU, at LSU with Burrow. They might bring him in to help Burrow and give him more options. There's also talk that Travis, I can't ever say, is it Anthony?
Etienne.
He's at Clemson, who are 10-1. He's also with Trevor Lawrence, who is an option at running back this season. He's got 13 touchdowns from 882 yards from 158 attempts. There's also talk about Devontae Smith at Alabama, 11-0 this year. Former teammate of Tua, might help Tua bring his progression on with someone he may know. This year at Alabama for 98 receiving yards. He's got 98 receives. He's got 1,511 yards with 17 touchdowns, and he averages 15.4 yards. And he's also rushed 3 attempts. He's rushed this year for 11 yards and 1 touchdown. I think them 3 are where we need to go with wide receivers and running backs. As if Myles Gaskin isn't in, we might go with the guy that we got in as a free agent. We've also just put forward, while we're doing this podcast, wide receiver as active for this weekend. So we have another option maybe, but we'll see where we're going from there. Right, move on to predictions. It was an interesting week last week. We're going to go through it. Someone did exceptionally, 3 of us did well, 1 not at all. So let's go through it. The Miami Raiders game, me and Fred went for Miami, and Dan and Rob went for the Raiders. Serves you lot right for going for them. Me and Fred get a point. The Colts versus the Steelers. We all went for the Colts. That went well for us.
Big Ben's back.
Exactly. The Steelers decided second half to just do what they wanted to do and actually got it right. Everyone apart from Dan went for the Rams, where he went for Seattle. That was a good pick, and that's the only one you got right. And we all went for the Packers apart from Dan with the Titans. It was the Packers that won. So the overall score so far in the predictions goes as this. In first place, it is Fred on 13 points. Joint second are Dan and Rob on 12. And last, and I am only 1 point behind now, whoop, whoop, is me with 11, which I'm quite happy about because I was quite far behind beforehand. So
I feel like you're going to be 2 points behind when no doubt you say that the Dolphins are going to be the Bills.
100%. I'm guaranteeing me to do this week, so don't worry about that. So let's get into this week, shall we? And let's see the predictions we've got. My thingamabobby isn't loading, so let me just try and get it up on here. So, everyone sing a song.
Finn's Bills to start, Mark. Go on.
All right, then. So, Miami Dolphins versus the Buffalo Bills. Who are we all going for?
Go on, you go first, Mark.
Go on, Mark.
I've got Miami. Fuck it. I don't care.
Ready, guys? 1, 2, 3, all together.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. The Bills.
Fuckers. Fine then. You got to go for the Bills. That's fine. Oh, fucking come on, Miami. Shut them up. Right. Next game we've got is the Cowboys at the Giants. Fred, I'm going to go to you first.
Yeah, bear me 2 seconds. Cowboys the Giants. Right. I am going to go Cowboys, as I said earlier.
So I was waiting for you to say Giants and pull you up on it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That's because you've messed my order up. So, no, I'm going Cowboys. Look, momentum. New York have lost 3 on the bounce, 3 good sides. And I think, we're going to go Cowboys just about.
All right, then. Dan, I'm going to go to you.
Yeah, I'm on the Cowboys. I think offensively they're starting to get in a groove with the old Red Rocket under center. So I think they've got enough to beat the Giants.
Rob.
Cowboys as well. I think they're trending upwards. 1-3 on the bounce. Looked impressive on offense at the weekend. Giants trending down with 3 straight losses. Look like they've probably gone off the boil for this season. So Cowboys. Perfect.
And I have gone for the Cowboys as well. We've got the Cardinals at the Rams. I have gone for the Rams. Rob, I'm going to go to you.
This is really tough. Both teams need to win. Both teams have got issues. The Cardinals, they're just so inconsistent. I think everyone expects them to be better this year than what they have been. You sort of don't know which Cardinals team's going to turn up. I've been supportive of the Rams this season, but I don't think they've gelled offensively. Now, Goff has got issues with his thumb. I don't know whether he has officially been ruled out now.
Yeah, John Wolford will start.
Reports have seen a surgery and he's out.
Yeah. John Wolford starting.
So that's going to have a huge potential bearing on the game. But Murray's still struggling himself, so
he's doubtful at the moment.
I'm going to go for the Rams defense to win it.
All right, with that noise, Dan, I'm going to go to you.
If you'd have asked us 4 days ago, 3 days ago, probably even 2 days ago, I'd have gone the Rams without a doubt. They've lost Jared Goff. John Wolford will start. They have lost Darrell Henderson, running back with an ankle sprain. They've lost Cam Akers, running back with an ankle sprain. So they've got no QB, no running back, and Cooper Kupp has tested positive for COVID-19 and will not play. They've got no wide receiver 1. I don't care how good the defense is. They're not going to score any points. So Cardinals for me.
I'd literally forgot about Kupp as well. Never mind.
Fred.
I'm standing by it.
Bobby Trees is going to come good, mate.
I mean, my life's just been made a lot easier because this really annoyed me earlier. I wrote loads of notes and I was thinking, where am I going with this? And I was thinking, well, 2 weeks ago I said the Rams would win the NFC West and they've gone and messed that up. And then I felt Kyler Murray was back as a dual threat, but now he's questionable. But obviously with Goff out, no Akers as well. I was really impressed with Akers a couple of weeks ago. I was going to go Rams pre the Allen thing still, but I am going to go Cardinals.
That's cheating.
I'm making best use of what information's out there.
He's now going first. Washington without Haskins, who has been released this weekend. Washington at Eagles. Which could have been nicely just move into if I did it earlier. Anyway, Fred, I'll go to you first.
Right. Okay. Fine. So I've been watching Panthers All or Nothing on Amazon Prime this week, so I'm high on praise for Ron Rivera as a person. I want Washington to win, Smith's very close to a return. It'd be a great story. I know it's an awful division, but it'd be a great story if they went and won that division. Why I think he'd make a difference. I don't think he's a great quarterback. Obviously, I've said that before, but he doesn't make a lot of big errors and he controls the tempo of a game pretty well. That said, the whole Haskins thing and his post-COVID party and sacking in the week and all this sort of stuff, when you're trying to read up on the build-up to this match, it's dominated by Haskins, and Haskins is going to have no part in this match, but will the whole story have an effect? I think it might hinder them. I think it's going to be a distraction. I'm really torn, but I am going to go for Eagles.
Perfect. Rob?
I said the Eagles were going to win the NFC East, and it is the only way that they can do it is by winning this game. So I think they're going to win it. I think FITZ is doing okay. They still lost 3 of the 4 games that he started. They're still struggling to put points on the board. I just fancy the Washington football team to do them over.
So you confused me. What you said. Me and Fred are looking at you and what?
What?
You said you predicted the Eagles to win the division, and then FITZ is doing really well, and we're off on a team. Me and Fred again. You know, they can't win the division, surely. And he said Washington.
Sorry, I didn't. I said Washington.
You didn't.
You said Eagles.
You said Eagles.
And you said all that. Oh, how good the Eagles are. Washington are going to win.
Dan.
For the avoidance of doubt, Rob, we need a word.
Yeah.
If we're not hedging this, I said this. No.
Sorry, I'll start again. I said earlier, Washington were going to win the NFC.
There we go.
And
I started getting Google up to make sure that I wasn't being an idiot.
No, me too. I can't count.
And I think FITZ is doing okay, but I think Washington are going to win this game and win the NFC East.
Perfect. Dan.
I hope they do, because I think the BUCS will have the 5th seed, and I'd fancy a trip to Washington over a trip to Dallas. But I think the Eagles win this one. I think Washington can stop teams scoring, but offensively they're not wonderful. No Gibson, questions at quarterback. Heineke might even start. I think the Eagles will be able to put up enough points to come out with a win.
I've gone Washington. I don't know why. I just went Washington. They'll do it. That's literally the way that I've done all my predictions. You can see why I'm last. So that's it. That's it. Thank you ever so much to everyone coming on. Don't forget, down below in the description is all the links to all of our new social medias on Twitter. The specialized one just for the NFL. We have just done a poll. I don't know whether you won't be able to, I think it just finished by the time you see this podcast. But we just did a poll on Twitter, TUA or FITZ. At this precise moment of this recording, I can tell you guys live where the score is at this precise moment.
There's been 4 votes.
After 6 votes, 6 actually, it is 50-50 at the moment. So it could go anywhere.
Bear in mind, Mark's got 4 Twitter accounts, all right?
Oh, I've got all the Twitter accounts. I could go and do them all. See you later. But I forgot about that. But no, I have been fair and only done it on my personal one, and that's it. But don't forget, thank you ever so much for everyone coming to listen and joining us this week. You guys have been superb. Next week will be all about playoffs. We have a special guest, hopefully coming on, a very special guest coming on next week. I am not going to say who it is. You have to go and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And next Wednesday, we will announce the person that is going on our podcast. A massive name in NFL, in the UK based anyway. And he's coming on to have a little discussion with us next week. So please, it's our first guest on NFL. Make sure you go and follow us on our NFL Twitter page. And the Instagram as well. We will announce it by maybe doing a nice little video. I might get snazzy with this one. I don't know. We'll see. See how much time. I probably will do a video because it's me. But we will see you guys next week. Thank you guys ever so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, get interactive. Tell us your guys what you think as well. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.